I'll be going over some of the enchants you will want as a Holy Paladin. There's no more helm enchant, so we can skip that. The shoulder enchant is made by inscriptionists only. There's no longer a shoulder enchant you can get from rep. So the better one is 200 intellect and 100 crit strike. For the cloak enchant, I'm using the 180 intellect, and the chest enchant I am using 80 to all stats. Like I said before, there is a 200 spirit chest enchant that I recommend getting if you still need a little bit more spirit. For both gloves and bracers, I have the 170 mastery, as you can see here. And the belt buckle in the belt and the tailoring spell thread on the legs, this is the better one. This is the 285 intellect and 165 spirit. For the boot enchant, I got Pandaren Step, which is 140 mastery and minor speed increase. I am not an enchanter, so I don't have any ring enchants, but I do have a 165 intellect on my shield, as well as the Jade Spirit enchant on my main hand. If you can't find an enchanter with the Jade Spirit enchant, you should get the Windsong enchant. It's also cheaper than the Jade Spirit. Jade Spirit costs some Shaw crystals, which are from disenchanting epics or turning 5 of the blue shards into the Shaw crystal once a day. So it is on a cooldown. So if you can't afford the Jade Spirit, go with Windsong. Now we can get into some of the spell priority and or rotation. As a healer, it's not really a rotation, it's just more of a spell priority, but you should be using Holy Shock on cooldown. If you have Light's Hammer, you should be using that on cooldown when you know there's AoE damage and people are stacking up. You can also use Holy Prism on cooldown if you have that. So when you Holy Shock on cooldown, you have a 6-second cooldown. So if you just need single target heals, just Holy Light and then a Holy Shock when it's off cooldown, and just save up 3 Holy Power for either Light of Dawn or Word of Glory. Tanks needing a little bit of larger heal, you obviously want to use Divine Light. You still want to make sure you have the Holy Shock on cooldown. So you want to use Holy Shock every time it's up, and Divine Light when the tank needs a little bit extra healing, and Flashlight is only used for an oh crap, I need a quick heal thing. If 5 or more people are in a 10-yard vicinity, you would like to use Holy Radiance. It's the Holy Paladin's AoE spell along with Light of Dawn, which really increases healing output. As a Holy Paladin, you should be using the Seal of Insight versus the other seals. And just as a reminder, every time you reglyph, and I believe retalent with a Tome of the Clear Mind, you are taken out of the seal. So you want to make sure you remember to use your seal each time you swap a glyph and or talent. It does not come off of you if you die in res though. Just keep that in mind. Next up, we will talk about some cooldowns the Holy Paladins have. The Holy Paladin has a lot of utility for tank healing. Whether it is kind of sacking them or just using Guardian on them to really have some throughput on single target heals. And we also do have some raid cooldowns depending on what you spec into. The Devotion Aura is our main raid cooldown. It's baseline, all paladins have it, all specs of paladins have it, and it just reduces all magic damage taken by 20% and lasts for 6 seconds. The other raid cooldown, debatably, is Holy Avenger. You can use that as either a raid cooldown or healing a tank cooldown. So Holy Avenger, there's a lot of utility involved in that. It's just what the raid needs at the time. I mainly use Holy Avenger in 25 man as raid healing. So I would use Holy Avenger and then just spam Light of Dawn with Holy Shocks and Holy Raids just like so. And really increases the throughput on my healing throughout the fight since it's only on a 2-second cooldown. There's 2 more healing throughput cooldowns Holy Paladins have. It is Avenging Wrath, which increases healing caused by that Paladin by 20%, as well as Divine Favor, which increases spell haste and spell crit chance by 20% for both of them. I usually use Avenging Wrath and Divine Favor together so I can get the most out of Avenging Wrath from the healing increase with the spell haste buff as well as the spell crit buff. If you are using the Divine Plea glyph, you want to make sure you time it in the fight at the correct time. If you don't time your mana return cooldowns throughout the fight for any healer, it can really screw you over in the long run. So I usually use both my Divine Plea and my Arcane Torrent, since I'm a Blood Elf, at the same time. I usually use around 80% mana, 75 to 80% mana if I can. Find a good time to use it when there's not much tank damage going or there's not much raid damage going, and you really need to trust your other healers with this glyph, otherwise someone could die when you're trying to cast it and you need to cast it. So I'm going to get down to about somewhere between 75% mana and 80% mana, and then I will use that cast. So I'm at 70%, I'm using Divine Plea before I spirit up to 75%. I mean, with it, I got from about 75% to 90% mana just in the 5-second cast that it was used in. And also a really great time to use Divine Plea is like right after you use your Avenging Wrath and Divine Favor combo, right near the end of when Divine Favor is going to fall off, I try to start to cast Divine Plea so I get the extra haste buff to make that cast a little bit faster. As long as during the back end of Lust or Heroism. That's very helpful in getting that cast off as quick as possible. Some healing add-ons that I use, I just mainly use one, is called Voodoo. I can open the options here and you can look at the different ways you can set up. It's very customizable. I do recommend it. And there's also this add-on called Click, or Click, whichever way you want to pronounce it. It's mainly just mouse over stuff, just like you can set up Voodoo to be, so you don't have to keep targeting and then healing, targeting and then healing through a full course of the fight. That's going to cost a few extra heals you could have gotten out with mouse over heals. So I recommend either getting Click, whichever way you want to pronounce it, or Voodoo. You can use Click with the default Blizzard frames or any kind of customizable frames that you want to use yourself. The add-on that I'm using for my bars is Dominoes. It's the same thing as Bartender if you're familiar with that. I just prefer Dominoes because I feel like it updates a lot quicker than Bartender. It's not really a healing thing, it just gives you a little bit extra bars. We can go over some keybinds really quick. Everything for keybinds is all personal preference, but you should have all your main abilities that you could possibly use during a fight keybound. If you click stuff during a fight, it just reduces time that could be spent healing or moving somewhere, even though you can move and click. Clicking is just bad. Unless you use your mouse to mouse over click heal with the add-on Click or Voodoo, clicking is just bad. I do click like my Potion of Focus just so I don't accidentally hit that button in the middle of the fight, because once you use a Potion of Focus, you can't get out of it until it's 10 seconds is up. So you really don't want to use that at a bad time during the fight. Another thing you don't really need found during a raid boss is Blinding Light and Denounce. You won't be using those during raid. But you should have all your hands keybound as well as all your cooldowns and everything you could possibly use. Let's talk about the racials different Horde and Alliance races give you. For Horde, the best Holy Paladin race is Blood Elf, just because you get that extra 6k mana from Arcane Torrent versus Torrent. There's no healing benefit whatsoever. It's just self-stam is increased and War Stomp. For Alliance, there's 3 races that can be Paladin. It is Human, Draenei, and Dwarf. Human, they have the famous PvP remove thing out of like tearing effects or stuns, which can be good during raids. If you get hit by some kind of mechanic that stuns you, that's very useful, so you don't have to waste your bubble just to get out of that. And they also have an increased amount of spirit, which is phenomenal right now. Human is hands down the best race to be for Holy Paladin. Now, Dwarf doesn't really have anything to bring to the table for healing on the Paladin, but Draenei does. Draenei has Gift of Naru, which is a hot that you can put on someone that does like 2% of their maximum health healing over like 15-20 seconds or something like that. But hands down, the best race to be is Human for Paladins. Personally, I do like the Horde better, so that's why I'm going with a male Blood Elf as my character. And that is all for the video. If you continue watching, I will show some of my logs where you can see where I match up against different classes of healing, specifically in my guild, and as well as versus other Holy Paladins on World of Logs. You can see my rankings for specific fights that I have ranked on. I'll put all that at the end of the video. So make sure you subscribe. There'll be more Holy Paladin tutorials and or kill videos. You can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and I do have a live stream. I stream all my guild raids on twitch.tv/utility with an I-10. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy this video. Please leave a comment, like, and favorite if you wish, and dislike if you feel I need to work on how I bring this information to other people. Thank you.
You're listening to the sounds of Static and Flux Pavilion. This is a promo.